I always remember thinking, like, these aren't that bad. Like, they hold clothes up, but they don't pinch that tight. And then I put them on my nipples, and welcome to the Rewatchers on the Pod. Quarantine week 3. It's really getting to us, so nobody knows how this is going to go. We're super stoked to have watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Wonderful film. My name is Mitchell Marshall. Here are my co-hosts in order of height, starting with the tallest.
Hey, I'm Tyler McKinley.
I'm Tyler Harris.
Justin Hammer.
Gwen Hammer.
Nailed it! Oh, man. I'm so proud of you guys. That was an easy one.
That was a slow pitch, for sure.
Don't worry. Just wait for next week.
Although, I don't know if Tyler's actually taller than me. I don't know.
I think we're about the same.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
He hesitated and finally went for it, and it worked out. Cool. Well, Tyler, you chose Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Why don't you let us know why this was your selection in this time of selections?
So Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, I think just over the last probably 5 or 6 years has become the movie that I will, if anyone asks me what my favorite movie is, which is a bad question, I will usually just say Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind because I really love it. And I feel like it's a good, I think it's a good movie to recommend to people. And like I said, I've watched this movie a ton over the last 10 years or so. And it always holds up, and I always find new things to love about it. And it's just fun. I just think it's such a original and cool movie, while also being a pretty simple love story, really. But I think that the way it tells that, and the aspects of a romantic relationship that it focuses on, are so intriguing and fascinating, and I just love it so much.
I think it's a really good movie that's also very accessible. It's going to have faces people recognize, and they kind of drop I thought it was a little bit more of a mystery before they kind of really tell you exactly what's going on, but it's right there. You kind of know. You're pretty, it's non-linear, but I don't think it's that hard to follow. And yeah, I think I only saw it for the first time when we did that podcast about it, which was, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. I have no idea of time
somewhere around there,
measurement anymore, but I've seen it 3 times since now. So quickly became an exciting one. And that's why it's technically science fiction, but it is so fun and so raw. And I don't know if fun's the word. Maybe I'll take that one back. But it has really good emotional resonance. And I've got some questions regarding this technology. But I'm just curious, was this anyone's first time watching it?
It was my first time.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's just what are you guys' initial reactions?
Oh, I do have a summary. Do you want to do that real quick?
Just in case totally forgot about summaries.
All
right. Give us the damn summary.
All right. Here we go. This summary comes to you via Tyler McKinley, via my mouth. Yeah, the tag Tylers. Here we go. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Joel is bad at deductive reasoning when it comes to damaged automobiles. Joel should write greeting cards for a living. Joel ditches work in the most suspicious way at the train platform. He heads to the freezing cold beach of Montauk for some reason. Joel hasn't written in his journal for 2 years, but it's clear some pages have been ripped out. Joel and Anakin Skywalker would get along great. Joel keeps seeing the same blue-haired woman everywhere he goes on his day off. The woman talks to Joel on the train. The bucket of problems name is Clementine, and she has things to say. She is a self-proclaimed vindictive little bitch who doesn't need nice in her life. Joel gives her a ride home, and he is invited in for a drink. Clementine has potato dolls in her living room, and that's totally normal. They have drinks, and things get really forward. I apparently really hate the word picnic because there's no way to say it without enunciating the C's in it. Fair enough. Joel leaves and Clementine gives Joel her number. He calls her when he gets back to his place and wishes her a happy Valentine's Day. They go hang out on a frozen lake together. The shot to end all shots is gifted to us, the unworthy audience. Joel takes Clem home and she wants to crash at his place. He waits for her to get her toothbrush. Frodo Baggins gets a little confrontational with Joel. Cut to Joel driving at night and he's crying to a Beck tape. Between that and throwing the tape out of his car window, it is clear that Joel is not a fan of the 7-time Grammy winner. A van is following Joel as he arrives home. Frank gives relationship advice that only a neighbor could give. Joel takes some sleeping pills and sees the van outside. The Hulk and Frodo Baggins exit the van and unload their shit into Joel's apartment. Joel is reliving his conversation with Frank moments ago. Joel is venting to his sister and Tobias about his relationship troubles with Clementine. He went to take her a Valentine's Day present and saw her with another guy. We see Clementine kissing Patrick Baby Boy. The transition to end all transitions occurs for us, the undeserving sacks of filth. Tobias thinks that a joint would help everyone in this trying time. Tobias makes a reference that I can't even Google to understand. Tobias hands Joel an envelope. Inside is a note from Lacuna Inc. It says that Clementine has had Joel erased from her memory and that they are asking them to never speak of their relationship again. It's someplace that does the thing. Joel goes to Lacuna where Mary Jane Watson is the receptionist. The Hulk jump scares Mary Jane. Turns out his brilliant mind was needed at this clinic. Joel meets with the doctor and he apologizes and says Joel should never have seen the note. Tobias is making a birdhouse. Joel wants to use the service to erase Clementine. The doctor asks him to empty his home and life of all the items that could remind him of Clementine and their relationship. They use these items to map the memories in his brain. After they map his brain, they erase the memories at his home that night while he sleeps. Joel gets to run down to the procedure. They begin the mapping process administered by the Incredible Hulk. The Hulk and Frodo have a noodle strainer on sleeping Joel's head and are erasing his memories. Joel goes into his own head and sees the memories in an out-of-body experience. Frodo Baggins is Patrick Baby Boy. Joel remembers the last night he saw Clementine before the incident. She's the one who wrecked his car, from the beginning. Frodo Baby Boy has a girlfriend. Joel, in his own memories, is trying to save his relationship with the memory of Clementine. Frodo's girlfriend is Clementine, and he stole a pair of her panties. The Hulk finds this equal parts unethical and hilarious. Mary Jane comes to hang out with the Hulk and Baby Boy Frodo Baggins while they keep erasing memories. Frodo Baggins is now John Cena. The Hulk has some incredible thoughts on the history of punk music. Mary Jane Watson doesn't give a shit. She'd rather talk about Howard. Frodo visits Clementine, who is freaking out. She wants him to go to the lake with him. Turns out that Frodo has Joel's journal and is using it to make the same moves Joel did so he can have a relationship with Clementine. Joel starts visiting memories of their relationship that are more positive and decides he wants to call it off, but it's too late because the Hulk and Mary Jane are dancing in their underwear. Memory Joel and Clementine try and outrun the erasing. Back in real life, Patrick uses one of Joel's lines from the journal. This freaks Clementine out. She knows something is wrong but doesn't know what. Memory Clementine suggests Joel finds a memory without her in it so he can hide from the erasing. He remembers some childhood memories but becomes childlike and forgets what he's doing there. The erasing process stops because they can't find them. The Hulk and Mary Jane start freaking out and they call Howard, the doctor, to come over and fix it. Howard arrives and finds Memory Joel. Joel keeps escaping though. Howard has to stay to keep finding him and erase memories manually. The Hulk goes to get some air. Mary Jane is crushing on Howard. She kisses him and confesses that she loves him and has for a while. Howard's wife shows up and sees them kissing. Turns out Howard has cheated on his wife with Mary Jane before and she wanted the procedure done to forget about their relationship. Joel relives his first and in this case last memory with Clementine. They finish erasing Clementine from Joel's memory and leave. The beginning of this movie is now. That was then, this is now. We are back to where Clementine went inside to get her toothbrush. Mary Jane stole all the patient's files and sent them back to them. Clementine gets hers and takes it with her. She reads it in the car and puts in one of the tapes that the clinic recorded as part of her treatment. Joel doesn't like what he hears on the tape and makes her get out of the car. She ends up going to Joel's apartment. He is listening to one of his tapes that he got in his file. While listening to his tape, she gets uncomfortable and leaves. Joel stops her and they go over the possibility of getting back together and what that could mean. What it means for them, what it means for us, what are relationships even? Are we all doomed to be unhappy? Can we relearn to love someone that hurt us after we've hurt them? What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. I'm an emotional wreck. The ending to end all endings is unveiled before us, the lucky ass audience who got to watch this perfect fucking movie.
Wow.
The editorial at the end of that is one of the most beautiful pieces of writing I've read in days. So thank you, Tyler. The other
in
one.
days.
I wrote it at like 2 a.m. I was very tired.
It's beautiful.
Tyler, just to undercut his compliment, just so you know, the only things he's read for the last 3 days are AEW fan fiction. So
it's a booming market.
Is my dream job. So,
oh boy. So again, Gwen, Justin, is that summary what you guys watched? Do you feel like it was all pretty clear and made a lot of sense?
Totally.
there you have it.
Agreed.
100%. S rank.
I was kind of put off by this movie at the beginning because Clementine at first felt very manic pixie dream girl, and I had a hard time getting past that. So I felt like the movie by the end had convinced me that she wasn't just Manic Pixie Dream Girl, but I haven't quite got my words and feelings around it. So I want to hear why you guys like this movie so much and just what you feel about it.
I mean, I'm with Tyler where this is one of my go-tos for my favorite film. I mean, it's definitely in my top 3. And the first time I ever watched it,
I was hoping you were going to tell this story because I wanted to. It's such a weird thing.
I was driving home from this weird job I had where I stocked magazines at Walgreens, and I got in a car accident, and it was pretty bad. Not for me. My front bumper came off, that's about it, but the car I cut in front of skimmed off me and then hit 3 other cars that were waiting to turn right. And one of them was a plumbing truck, and like pipes and everything were all over the road. It was a bad day. And after everything finally got settled and I got home, I called Tyler and I was like, "Hey, I need to get my mind off of this because I just got in a car accident and I was the only car who drove away." And he was like, "Wait, why did you drive away?" And like, he was like panicked that I did a hit and run. And like, so I had to explain, it's like, no, my car was the only one, who was able to drive. Anyway, he's like, "Well, I'm going to go watch this movie at this person's house if you want to come." So I came there, and it turns out it was the apartment of my sister's best friend growing up. And yeah, we watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And it took me completely out of my situation. I was so engrossed in this movie. It was the first thing I ever saw Jim Carrey in that I actually really appreciated his performance, and he does a really great job. But it's also, I mean, I get different things out of it now watching it than I did back then. I don't know how long it had been afterwards, but I was still kind of bitter about a breakup I went through in high school, and so that was kind of cathartic that way. Whereas I've completely different emotions on it now, but it's such a good and creative and unique, in-depth look at relationships, and kind of a lot of it's just incredibly honest. This movie is so honest about relationships in a way that I hadn't seen or heard anyone talk about before. So that's a big thing, and just like the creative nature in which it's, I'm sure there's moments for a lot of people when they go through a hard breakup or whatever that they just wish they could erase that person from their memory or whatever it may be. So it's fun to explore that option in kind of that weird creative way, and then kind of see it play out and the regrets that are had. And then just a lot of the visual mastery of Michel Gondry's directing of a lot of cool practical effects that bring this whole story to life. And I've talked long enough, but I love this movie.
Yeah, no, and I feel the same way. I think, and kind of what Mitchell mentioned earlier, this was like, I've talked about Tree of Life before, and that was like a huge gateway for me for movies. And I feel like this was the same thing, where it was like, there's this movie that is, it's still very accessible. It's still a love story, but the way that it's told, it's one of those things that it only works in a movie. Like this doesn't work the same way as a book or a graphic novel, or, you know what I mean? It's just, it fits the medium so perfectly. And they do things with it that I had never seen before. And even just the non-linear nature of it. I remember, to me, when I realized, that the scene with the car at the beginning of the movie was taking place earlier than later, all of that, it like blew my mind in a way that my mind had not previously been blown like that before. And I think your point about, like Manic Pixie Dream Girl trope, and everything is a absolutely valid concern, and a good thing to bring up. For me, I feel like, especially the character of Clementine, I think for me, the problem that I have with the Manic Pixie Dream Girl trope is that she's presented as essentially an object or a goal that will get the character out of his funk and make him feel better about himself. And she does it because she's quirky and she's cute and all of that. But that's about it, I think, for a lot of those type of characters. They are not really fleshed out. The thing I love about Clementine is that she is very quirky and different and weird. And at first, I think that's what Joel sees in her is, I mean, he says that, he said, I thought you were going to save me. And I still do. But she is so much more than that. She comes to the relationship with so much of her own baggage that she is also trying to figure out. And to me, she feels like a fleshed out character. She doesn't feel like a trope, or something that is as easily classifiable as most other Manic Pixie Dream Girls. But I totally get where you're coming from as well, for sure. So,
well, I agree. I don't think she actually is Manic Pixie Dream Girl. I just got stuck there in my mindset at the beginning. And the very last scene when they're talking and she says something like, and I'm going to get bored and feel stuck, and out loud acknowledging one of her, according to her, character flaws, and them agreeing to move forward anyway and work through it. Like that moment felt really good to me in undoing that trope in my head, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's significant that both of these characters are really flawed, and I think this might be more common now than it was when this movie came out, but we're seeing the flaws first, and even though we kind of see them fall in love, like, you kind of know it's like when your friend dates someone, you know that they're just like, it's just stupid, like you know it's wrong from the beginning, and it's not because they're flawed, but because when you look at their flaws together. And I think when at the beginning of the movie, I wasn't into it for the first 20 minutes, I think because I didn't like Joel, and I thought, okay, we're gonna just watch this guy with this mundane life have this girl come in and mix it up, which technically happens, but that's a trope that I didn't want to see. I didn't need to see Jim Carrey. I thought we were going to get like an office day job day and then a day where he mixes up. But the fact that they initially go and then it does jump in to the thick of we're trying to forget things so quickly, it helps me. And that helps me to also really enjoy how, honestly, both characters are kind of annoying. Like, you don't really want to be around these people, and it might be why they are isolated, and to that end, why whatever they have appeals to each other. And then there's some incredible moments. I like what you said about like the practical effects, Tyler, and just some of the different things we get to see with them doing in the houses and on the beach and through his childhood, because I think it all just demonstrates a little bit more honest view of the mind, and it pulls you away just enough from the reality of the toxicity of their relationship that when it comes full circle, it really pays off. But yeah, I think the best part about this movie is that these characters are so flawed, and in the beginning you don't like them, and that's why the concept does work so well.
Yeah, I agree with you that you don't particularly like either of them a lot. I mean, there's things to like about them as the film progresses, but and you can definitely empathize with them, even though I would never personally want to hang out with them, I guess. I really appreciate how flawed they are and how sometimes weird they are, because I feel like that's where another aspect of the honesty of this movie comes in, is where if you think about relationships and any particular romantic relationship you have, a lot of cringy ass things are said.
Oh yeah,
like you're with each other all the time, and you see each other at your best, you see each other at your worst, and you see each other when you're really tired, and you're saying stupid shit. And when you're just with someone all the time, a lot of dumb things that don't make sense are said, and all of that is presented in this movie up front. You have these weird people having these weird moments together, that, you know, if someone were to watch a movie of my life and we're in those intimate moments every moment, they'd hate me too, you know? Like, and I love that we see that about these two characters.
Yeah, like you said, we get to see so much. I think something we see in movies oftentimes is a relationship where we're obviously saying what's most important. That's how a movie works. But if you think about it in real life, it's not that just you say like cheesy stuff or stupid things, but you have less of a filter, and you're just saying, say you live with someone, you might say 10,000 words to them in a day, and you're probably not being very selective. You're not being very eloquent. And sometimes in movies, we just see the important words that people say to each other. And I think in this, they try and give you a sample of everything people say to each other. And I think that is a really clever way to write it.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the writing a little bit too, because I mean, this movie came out in 2004, which, I mean, we were just on this boom, like film wise, of like mumblecore and indie shit that all kind of feels like this. You know what I mean? It's like people were making these lower budget movies that were just about people. You know what I mean? It's about these simple relationships, and there are a ton of these movies. You know, they're still coming out now, but particularly like in the 2000 to 2010, there's this boom of stuff for like the festival circuit, and like it was getting more attention. And I think that the amazing thing to me about this movie is that you could easily make a movie about this guy who meets this girl at this party that he goes to with his friend, and they end up dating, and the relationship falls apart, and then, you know, he gets sad, and then they get back together at the end and, you know, want to work it out or whatever. But the most ingenious thing to me about this script is like how it takes, like, it tells this story of like this very accessible relationship, this very you know, pretty normal relationship, I would say, by all accounts. Like when you actually see what their relationship is like, it's not extraordinary, really. They do normal things, and they have their romantic moments. They fight, they, you know, all of that. But just adding that like sci-fi level to this movie is so great, because it lets them be like, okay, we're going to break reality enough that we can look at this relationship in an entirely different way. And it like, without that, this movie is nothing. You know what I mean? I could totally see Jim Carrey wanted to do like an indie movie in the early 2000s and shitting out something, you know, but like it's so fantastic. And I think like all of that stuff, I remember the first time I watched it, I had no idea really what this movie was, other than I had seen the poster for it at Blockbuster, and it was like Jim Carrey didn't look funny in it. You know what I mean? Like, and so for me, the reveal of like the whole like memory erasing thing, and that being the crux of everything, felt so fresh and cool when I first saw it. And yeah, I love the way that this movie deals with those relationship tropes, by kind of just throwing in this sci-fi element that kind of turns all stuff on its head, and it doesn't even spend that much time explaining it. Like they're just like, yeah, we can just look at your brain and shoot parts of it, and the memories disappear. But don't worry, it's basically like you've had a few beers. That's it. It's like, cool. That's whatever. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think that it's also something you were saying there about how, like, you know, it could have been something else. I also think you could make the same movie with that sci-fi element in there, but it would end up being something completely different. Like you make it with Adam Sandler, and it's a comedy, and it's something like Pixels, like where it's just like this stupid bullshit. Where I think them not explaining, you know, the brain, it's not getting too heavy with the science fiction stuff, but also is like still being fun while still not breaking its tone at all. I think he does a lot of smart things. The practical effects are cool because they're practical and they look cool, but they also serve a good narrative purpose. Yeah. I remember when we first watched it together, that moment where he's remembering in the bookstore and then he's walking out and the lights are all shut off, and there's that cool transition where he goes back into his sister's house. The door shuts. I remember that being the moment that like sealed the deal for me, and that I'm like, I am all on board. This is incredible, and I love filmmaking. This is such a cool thing. And like the part where you have you know, Jim Carrey when he's going through the memories towards the end, and like he goes back in the office, like the doctor. No, it's not, the doctor's face isn't screwed up yet. It's the first time he does that, and how they did it. There's two of them in the scene, but every time they pan the camera over, he had to rip off his beanie and sit in the chair, and then when it panned back over, he had to run behind the camera, put his beanie back on, and then be the Joel on the other side. Just a lot of really cool, crazy things like that they had to pull off that feel more intimate, feel more real, and also in like cases of that transition and the stuff where he's in his bed and it's like mixed with the beach. There's like sand in his bedroom with the fence line, and the water's like starts sleeping by his feet. It's like lots of really cool things that really sell the whole experience just because they chose to do it that way.
It's just the right amount of like confusing, because and that's why you get to notice more and more. You notice sort of the subtleties of when he is and where he is, and then you really understand when they bring in these side characters, saying they don't have to explain the science. Like literally the fact that this exists doesn't seem to trip anyone up in their world, so it's just the right amount of sci-fi. But then when you just notice like something's off, and then it kind of slaps you in the face with it when there's two of him in the doctor's office when he's kind of getting ready to go under. But up until that point, I think it does just the right amount. And even when it gets wild, you kind of understand we're really just looking back. We're really just trying to chop these out one by one. I do want to talk about the emotional ethics and maybe how you guys might use this strategy in your lives. But first, I do want to talk about the people who work there. Obviously, we kind of have the love triangle, the whole idea of Mary Jane and the old doctor being together. Somehow it's the perfect B plot. And sometimes when you really have an A plot, B plot, as intermixed as this is, you feel left out. But I thought, especially because the end of the movie is really hinged on that character, on that girl feeling, I don't know, she just hated how it happened and how it emotionally manipulated her. It's interesting that she's so consequential at the end. Just want to see what you guys think about those characters who are kind of hilarious, but they kind of have to deal with this technology. They are part of it. They are part of this very questionable act.
Yeah, I really love. I think her name's Mary. Is Kirsten Dunst's character? I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah,
it.
I love that character. I actually really love Kirsten Dunst in this movie. It's crazy to think back and be like, this was kind of in the midst of like the Spider-Man, like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies coming out. Like this isn't that far removed from Mary Jane Watson, and like I don't know. I think her performance is really great in this, especially that kind of the emotional resolution at the end a little bit with her and Mark Ruffalo's character. I that scene has always stuck out to me. But yeah, I think that is again like a really smart thing that this movie does. Is we've talked about kind of the science. They're kind of like they're a little bit like it works and it's super fine to do like physically. You know what I mean? It's not gonna fuck you up or whatever. But like I those ethical questions, like you're saying, are left on the table. And the way that they address those, basically just through that single character. And to me, it doesn't definitively give you like a this is right or this is wrong. Because it is adults making decisions about this thing, which is an insane decision to make. But I think that the idea that it is tied to her specific experience and specific journey, like validates that character's emotional journey with the characters around her, and specifically with the doctor, and kind of her coming to terms with her own decision that she doesn't know she's made or can't remember that she's made. I just think it's so fascinating. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any like ethical answers, but I like them in this movie.
I think one that stuck out to me this time is like whenever at the end when I understand why she's upset, but I never quite understood, like, or really thought about how what she did is what's the word I want? How she got to that point, how her feelings led her to basically steal everyone's files and send them back to everyone. Because I mean, those are choices that people made to forget that person because of the pain that it caused. And in some cases, not a person. We saw that woman who had all of her dog's stuff, and she's trying to forget her dog.
Yeah. Can we also point out when they like first show a thing to Jim Carrey when he's at the office and they walk Joel in, and there's just a woman strapped in that chair, just fucking bawling her eyes out, like just in that chair. It's like, for some reason seeing that, I was like, this is fucking horrifying, but it's such a clinical like atmosphere. Like it's just a normal doctor's office. So it's like, yeah, it's fine. It's like a couple beers. It's such a funny, I love it so much.
I definitely see that. And so it's weird to think that like she's trying to, she's reversing those people's decision because she sees something wrong there. And kind of part of the message of that movie is that as painful as it can be, you need to remember those things because you learn from them and you can be better for them. I think that does lead into a, kind of the resolution at the end of the whole movie between Joel and Clementine of where it ends on relationships. The message is trying to convey kind of is almost this ambiguous thing. It's like, okay, they get back together. Is the same thing just going to happen? Are they doomed to, go through it all again? Or are they going to, or because they have these tapes and stuff and they know what to expect, are they going to, learn from it and achieve something better in their relationship, something more lasting? And I think that's the fun and interesting part about the ending of this movie. It reminds me a little bit of, or I should say, the movie La La Land's ending reminds me a little bit of the ending of this movie, sure. Where it has such an honest take on relationships and isn't afraid to kind of maybe suggest some things that aren't very crowd pleasing or fanfare or anything like that. It's very much like, this is how it is, and these characters are probably better off because of it, And I think that's such a cool look into real life relationships.
Yeah, when I look back at my most recent relationship, which I don't mind talking about, but we broke up about 15 times. But every time you remember the good. That's the thing, is this process almost implies that they had forgotten the good things, and that fighting through his memories, good or bad, has made them realize that they have something worth fighting for. And I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but I feel like you can have really good emotional communication and still have these differences that don't work out. Breakups can be amicable and still extremely emotional, where you're remembering the peaks, and that's why it's hard to let go, but you kind of know the valleys, and what's to come are the negative. So obviously the technology I don't think is plausible because of the gaps it would create in your understanding of yourself and your memories. And I think I want to know if there were long-term clinical trials, because it could really screw someone up. But I just think that's why it's like you couldn't really do it, and I don't support them trying again. But I think it's just like looking back at a relationship. There are some beautiful things to have been learned from it. Now, are there painful things like you may want to eliminate, and maybe the technology is more detailed than we think and it fills those in? It makes sense that you didn't have a dog or a girlfriend for all that time, maybe, but overall it seems to me like they are just headed for the same cycle, because even if you both now have voiced everything you hate about each other, you just went through this very therapeutic thing, you're probably still going to end up hating each other. And so I don't know. I think last time Tyler and I talked about this, I kind of asked if he would use this for a bad relationship, and I think we both ended up on no.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely no.
It's worth looking into. I'm like, can I take out certain memories and just be like, yeah, that happened, I learned from it, but there's some things I just don't want to admit happened?
Well, I think it. The thing about this movie too is, I mean, without them getting those tapes, I very much do think it is going to be a repeat of what they've gone through before, right? But I think that the interesting thing about this movie, and like Tyler said, it is left ambiguous. We don't know that this is a happily ever after or anything like that. But it is a victory in the way that we have two people coming together in the face of something that they have said to themselves on a tape may be doomed anyways, but that the way that they feel and the good work. That's the victory. Maybe they do break up in another 9 months or whatever. But you know, like Billy Shakes said, better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. You know.
Sounds like a waste of time. I mean, they love the first time, you know.
You want to listen, Mitchell? You can't min-max your way through life, okay? There's gonna be ups and downs. Got to take the good with the bad.
I gotta say, earlier when you talked about this maybe being like Adam Sandler, I did think to Click, which I think is also like a low-level sci-fi where he has some emotional resonance. I did almost cry the first time I saw that movie when he almost dies. But you're right; they could have screwed this up. And so it is incredible how complex a lot of these elements are and how well the movie does kind of work bottom to top.
Yeah. I mean, just the whole second act of him jumping from memory to memory and then trying to run from him has so many interesting things, just like kind of some sub themes within each one that are so fascinating. And, you know, we even go back to when he was a child and just some, you know, a rough decision he had to make there that, you know, kind of had haunted him or had stuck with him over time enough to, you know, be able to go back to it all those years later. And I think, honestly, every time I watch this movie, and maybe I'm just a sucker, I don't know, but that final scene where they've run through all the memories, they're all getting deleted. It's the last place they can run is their very first memory together, which is technically in that moment their last memory together. Is so powerful to me that I cry every single time, because it kind of, and this time it was different for me. This time, I guess it's because I turned 30 this month and I'm closer to death, but it's kind of like,
that's the threshold.
It is after 30. It's like, all right, just preparing, got to get my will and
got to get my affairs in order.
And, but this time it made me think of that whole concept of like, you kind of die twice, you know, you die when you physically die, and then you also die again when the last person who remembers you dies or forgets you. And just that weight of that moment being erased, you know, and him kind of living again, only with the fictional memory of the person that he actually had and has this weird experience with that way. And then how that's changed, how he confronts it, how he communicates with her in that moment of how he felt hurt in that moment when she said so go, and how he wished he would have stayed, and how he has these like little analytics but also like will eventually like jump back and fill in the line he's supposed to say that actually was said, but then he'll go back to analyzing the situation and working his way through it. And yeah, I cried this time watching it. It's so emotionally powerful, and this movie hits everything I want in a movie. You laugh, you cry, you feel very moved. It's so creative. It's visually stunning. I can't say enough good things about Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
I agree, and I just want to give a direct, like, Kate Winslet is really incredible. I think sometimes we forget that. Like, she won her Oscar for, Titanic and Children of Men, maybe, but she has played such an insane group of characters, and she's not one of those actors who is method, or she might use some method, but she's not full method, and she also doesn't use, she's not Johnny Depp, where he's kind of Johnny Depp and everything. Her transformation, I did not mean to make that 3 bold syllables, but it happened. But
with you, who knows?
She's really astonishing in this, because when you think, you may or have 3 movies where you think of those are Kate Winslet, and she's so different in this. Obviously she's playing a sloppy American who's just like so flawed, and I buy it. I buy every single one of her emotions, and she's not our protagonist, and this isn't comedy, but she's not our straight man either. She is the one kind of being more erratic, and the fact that when they kind of come to that painful ending, although it's, you can look at it no matter how you can look at it 5 different ways, but when they're listening to those tapes and she breaks down, it absolutely is a really authentic look. I'll also say, I don't think this movie triggered anything in me during the movie to think about my own relations to this. It was more afterwards that had my head spinning. And I think that's good, because I don't think you want the viewer to engage in relive their own breakup while they're watching your movie. And it toes that line pretty well. I don't know if someone else did that, but just last thing about someone disappearing. That is the basis for Coco, which is a really good Disney Pixar movie. And the more you talk to Tyler, the more like direct correlations I found from that. And I did cry during that movie. And that's a tough way to look at the life you lead. And I think sometimes a lot of the arrogance of the world comes from wanting to be remembered. And I know personally, I want my exes to still think good things of me. I want them to have fond memories, even though it didn't work out. And sometimes I overly compensate to be like, but it was good, right? Like, I'm still a good person, right? I don't know. And so it's interesting to think about how you treat people because of how you want them to look at you when you're not in each other's lives.
Something sort of related that I feel like the movie sort of explored a little bit, but not directly, was how whenever we have a relationship, not just romantic relationships, but any human relationship, we are interacting with an imaginary version that we have created of this person. And so much of this movie happened with Joel talking to and working through his feelings with a completely imaginary version of Clementine, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't like that theme wasn't directly talked about. I just found it very interesting and uncomfortable that we saw that for Joel and not for Clementine at all. So we got to see the imaginary Clementine, but not the imaginary Joel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never thought of it that way. That's yeah, absolutely. And so to me, some of their best moments together are with imaginary Clementine. Not to say that the true her kind of didn't reflect some of that enthusiasm and stuff, but her trying to help her hide, and then her diversions, seem true to her, but that could be a narrative flaw, not necessarily a flaw in the movie, but something you have to think on a second level about what we're actually seeing about these two main characters.
Yeah, I think you could look at it like he's remembering her kind of maybe how he wants to remember her, or more the positive lights, because the moments where they're not the direct lines from the past, they are more positive parts of their relationship, it seems like. And so that is a good point that Gwen brings up, is it's this kind of how he remembers her is what personality is shining through, not necessarily what would really be said.
Absolutely. I did want to ask you guys a theoretical question. If this technology existed, I don't know if it would be ethical to use on people, but I had kind of polled a nerdy group of people, a podcast Facebook group I was in, and I'm curious what you guys think. Would you erase something from your mind so you could experience it again for the first time? And I had posed this about Harry Potter, which is probably the most important piece of fiction to me, and I think it's a little too interwoven into my life in a very positive way. But I do.
I like the way that's phrased. It almost felt like you're going to be like, it's a problem. And then like, but it makes me ultra strong.
It's been good. But
No.
when I think about cracking those books open for the first time, or hearing a new record for the first time, that really changed me, that really impacted me. I'm like, oh, what if I could get that fresh enjoyment again? And I think being later in life, it may not affect me the same way, but I can just barely grasp at like the edges. It's a type of nostalgia, but I can just kind of grasp at the edges of those moments and what it actually felt like to be endeavoring it again. So I would think of something maybe I'm a little less in love with, but I'd be like, yeah, you know what? There's not enough TV out there. I'm going to erase something. I'm going to erase Lost and I'll watch it again without knowing and not having to wait every week. So is that something you guys would consider for anything that you've enjoyed?
And we're assuming that there have been long-term clinical trials, and I'm not going to be like totally fucked up and jump, like think I can jump into space someday and be sad that I can't.
It depends how interwoven this is into your psyche. I don't know.
Oh man, okay.
Clinical trials are bullshit. Get out of here.
I think there was a time in my life where I would have said yes to
Before you were 30.
Yeah. Before I was on death's door. But I feel now like there's nothing. I mean, it's just because I'm a miserable old cuss, but like I feel like there's nothing that would be worth it, I guess. I don't know. there's too many new experiences coming out that I can appreciate more because of the things that I have experienced, as well as by the time you're done with it, what's that going to last? Like, depending on what the format is, a matter of minutes to a few hours at most, and then you're back to where you were,
Would you erase all the new Star Wars, after the original 3, and then not just experience them for the first time again?
No, because I would have to know not to experience them. I would see that there's new Star Wars, and I have to fucking watch it, And I can't relive the pain.
You got out of the clinic.
That would break him.
Tyler drove you home, and he was like, "Look, I need you to know something. There's a lot of new Star Wars shit out there, but the reason that you were
drove me home from where?
From the doctor. From the doctor.
Oh, the procedure.
They do it in your bed."
And he's like, they weren't really removing a tumor. They were removing a lot of really bad Star Wars shit. So you cannot engage. Okay, you paid $30,000 for this operation. Don't go back. Maybe Rogue One.
I like that the insinuation is they're removing the memory of Star Wars and implanting the memory of him going in for a tumor operation. You can get rid of that, but you're going to remember like having a tumor and like what a nightmare that was.
Well, Tyler, would you rather remember Solo, or would you rather remember overcoming cancer?
Oh man, yeah. Come to think of it, a vasectomy is kind of like erasing the memory of your future children.
Are you saying you got a vasectomy for your 30th birthday?
No, but that would be a great present if anyone wants to donate that.
Somebody tell Katie. Oh boy.
But also after coronavirus stuff, because I do not want to go into a clinic right now.
True.
I think, I don't know, we could gush about this movie for a long time, and it's actually hard to articulate. I like that we've dove into some different elements. It is so thought-provoking and interesting. And did you guys have any other elements of the filmmaking or the story itself or the characters that we haven't kind of touched on yet?
Wait. I want to know what Justin and Gwen and Tyler would erase.
Oh.
Oh.
I mean, honestly, like, having been home so much, I like, and having the time, I would love to experience Twin Peaks again for the first time, but that's it. Also, I still don't think I would do it though. I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid of it.
Everything that I love and re-experience is such a part of my person and my psyche that I don't think I could do it for something like The Expanse or Cosmere, but I might do something like Agatha Christie just because it's fun, but I don't really think about it that much.
That's a good way to look at it.
Oh, I changed my answer. I might do the movie Mandy just because watching that for the first time is unlike anything.
Well, I'm going to watch that on edibles next time, so it'll be like it's the first time.
Is that a new streaming service?
Yeah. It's coming out along with Quibi and Peacock. Those are real ones.
20th of this month, right?
Exactly. Yep. But they're doing it. You can do it all month, this whole month. It's like really unique in that way. It's really great.
It's like Christmas, only it's like, Christmas starts 4 months early for shopping, but 420 is actually April 1st.
Pick out my weed.
It goes through the entire month.
Those are essential businesses at this time.
Once every 100 years. Yeah. Oh, I do before. Well, Justin, I guess we still need to hear if you would delete your shit.
If I could choose perfectly what the shit is, then sure. But I'm too afraid of getting rid of something that I shouldn't have gotten rid of.
Is there like a standalone game with like a dope campaign that you're like, yeah, to do that again for the first time, and you just play through it once or twice and you're done? You could erase something small like that.
I mean, honestly, if I could relive Doom this week, that'd be kind of cool. But that's just an ongoing process anyways, so
I gotta tell you, guess what, sir? You can.
You can get it out of my brain?
No, I feel like you've been in a permanent existence of Doom whatever it's called, eternal for an eternity now. Like this whole COVID has
it's
really
in
just
the title.
been
Yeah,
you living in that hell and you're enjoying it.
I love it.
It truly is the funnest hell. I mean, I don't think there's any debating that. It's the funnest hell that
I'm on my third playthrough.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my gosh.
I do real quickly before we go. I do need to shout out David Cross in this movie because holy shit, there are 2 lines in this movie that were referenced by Tyler in that summary that are like so. There, I don't quote any of this movie except for 2 lines by David Cross, and one of them is I don't know. It's a place that does a thing, which is like just a fucking great line. And then the other one, which is one of my favorite shots in this movie, that is not explained, it is not like held on or referenced for more than 10 seconds, is just them in the kitchen at his sister's house and David Cross in like the corner of the room where he has created a pseudo like shitty workshop and workbench where he is apparently building a birdhouse. And God, what a great and ridiculous scene in this movie that I feel like is just I just love it. I just think it's so stupid.
It's just an outrageous line because it's a defense to not talk to people. Like it's like I don't want to address the problems in the room, so I'm building a birdhouse. Like
it's difficult. I will say the construction of a like domicile for anyone becomes infinitely more difficult if you have to talk about something off topic while doing it. It's just difficult.
The reference I put in my summary where he's like, he's a grown man. He's not like Mama Carrie's kid. I didn't fucking understand for the life of me. So I like was Googling Mama Carrie's kid and I couldn't find anything.
I don't know. I do have one unanswerable question that I think you guys can answer for me. Is Elijah Wood bad? Or is it he's good at these really terrible characters?
Oh,
I love
you mean
Elijah.
Is Elijah Wood as an actor bad?
No, I don't think he's a bad actor, but why do I want to punch him in the dick every time I see him?
Because he's good.
In Lord of the Rings, do you want to punch Frodo Baggins in the dick?
I mean, towards the end, a little bit.
Oh yeah, a little bit in Two Towers.
That's really low too.
There's an edit of Lord of the Rings where they just pull out all the Frodos, and it's not bad. Also, I used to really like Two Towers, and I don't know if I thought it was the best, but I rewatched it a couple weeks ago and I was like, oh, I just actually really like the last hour. So I have to look at myself.
I can't watch Legolas snowboard down that staircase another goddamn time. Like I am so done.
My feelings.
You don't remember being like a 10-year-old and just being like, okay, he's got double swords and he's just coming down to kill people. He like does that thing where he flips up onto the horse. Man, I was so gay for Legolas.
Mitchell, maybe when you're 30 you'll understand. But
I have a solid 18 months.
Some of us grow up and realize the stupid shit Peter Jackson was trying to pull with his X Games elf bullshit isn't flying anymore.
No, that part's cool. The bullshit is in movie 3 when he takes down the whole Oliphant by himself.
Oh, and then slides down the trunk.
Very much. That makes you forget any previous bullshit with the amount of bullshit.
Give me the shield on the stairs. Just anything but the Oliphant.
Oh my. Oh. Hey, Orlando Bloom, congratulations. He and Katy Perry are expecting a little girl.
Oh
man.
I don't care that much.
Everyone's
like, together.
Wouldn't have been able to tell you that they were an item.
Me neither.
You know, Orlando Bloom to me has always seemed like a guy who never spoke his entire life. Then someone was like, "You're pretty. Can you act?" And then,
and then the first time I found out he had short hair, I was like, "No."
Hey, him and Kirsten Dunst are in a like shitty ripoff of Garden State, which Garden State isn't that great anymore either. No, I remember. Yeah. Anyways, we'll have to. Never mind. I'm never gonna dedicate.
Is Garden State the Zach Braff one?
Yeah.
Speaking of, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, were you about to mention that he's dating Florence Pugh? Because that blew my fucking mind.
I was going to say, if you guys need me to keep you up on the celebrity gossip, that's the latest.
Holy cow. What is the age difference there?
It's a lot.
So much.
She's 4 or 5 years younger than us, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, she's pretty young. Yeah, I think she might be even younger than that. I thought she was like 22 or 23.
Oh, really? Yeah, I thought 24. But look, Florence, I know you're not listening. I know you're listening. Just
Which
you
one
can-
is the truth? The secret.
Look,
Just
someone
put it into the
closer to
universe.
your age is available, and his name's Mitchell.
I wasn't in Scrubs, but I'll do a Scrubs rewatch podcast if you want me to. Okay. Which Zach Braff is doing, by the way.
Oh boy.
I never
That's
was a
very
Scrubs
Zach
guy,
Braff.
but I have been listening to The Office Ladies, which is less fun because they're not the main characters, but pretty interesting if you like The Office. Anyway, I'll stop plugging other podcasts. Let's take a quick break and then we can recommend some stuff we've been watching in quarantine. But first, Tyler, tell people.
I wasn't gonna say anything. I was just gonna. I felt smooth exit, so I didn't want to fuck it up. But
It was
screaming in my mind. Yeah.
You started with a fuck up, and we ended with one.
Tyler's got some great info for us. Justin can take out some of that silence. Tyler, where can people
No
communicate
way.
with us? And then next week, what are we going to watch?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't remember that one, but I will say if you want to reach out to us, you can email us at rewatch. The pottage. If you
You're cutting out.
recommendations?
You
bad.
cut out through that whole
Yours.
thing, Tyler.
watch these, I don't know.
I think his internet might be dying, guys.
That sucks. Hold.
You were so clear for most of the
So
podcast.
can you- yeah, I don't know what my internet is doing. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back now.
All right. If you could make all of that longer, Justin, in the editing, stretch it to 5 or 6 minutes.
All right.
No. So reach out to us. Our email at rewatchersonthepod@gmail.com or on Twitter or Instagram at rewatcherspod. Yeah, that'd be great. And what are we watching next week? I know it is one of two things, but I do not know if we nailed it down. Should I just decide right now? Because
Yes.
we're watching There Will Be Blood next week.
Yes.
That we said, cool. Yeah. So we're going to do
good.
that. So if you just want to hear us just fucking fawn over movies like we did for this hour for another hour next week, please join us because I'm sure there are a couple of us I know for sure that will do that. Everyone else's opinions are, who
It's going to
knows?
be my first watch. I kind of regretted picking Mother. I was like, you know what? I should have picked a bad movie because these guys will just rip it apart and I'll get to defend some really bad movie. I regret picking something smaller and interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll see how it goes. I'm hoping that you hate it so we can just fucking fight for an hour.
It would
I
be
will
fun if
fight
somebody
you
didn't
so.
like this movie.
Because
Because I
that's
would
what would
love to hear
happen.
that opinion.
Well, if we would have watched Furious 7, the shoe would have been on the other foot. Okay, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Rewatchers on the pod. We're going to recommend some stuff because we've all been pretty much cooped inside and hopefully been just watching wonderful things, except for Justin. Justin, what is your Doom Eternal recommendation?
What a toss.
I mean, if you want to watch if you want to just sit down and go to YouTube and watch all the cinematics, that's probably worth your time. So go ahead and check that out, right?
Are you not
That's-
twitching it? Can we watch you play Doom Eternal on the Twatch?
I mean, if you want me to, then I guess so.
No, I got a
Okay,
life.
all
No,
right,
I really
yeah.
don't.
I don't know. I mean, let's see here. There was a suggestion of me choosing a favorite demon to fight. I don't know if I can nail that down. I really like fighting people in the multiplayer mode that don't know what they're doing. That's a lot of fun.
Oh man, if you want to do
that would
that,
be
yeah,
me.
I'll do that with you because I have no
Okay.
fucking idea at all.
Sounds good. Yeah. I have 3 more trophies that I need to get or achievements, and then I've got all of them. So
Wow. Wait, so have
yeah.
you done the super hardcore mode where if you die once it's over?
no, is that okay? So here's something I'm wondering: are the trophies on the PlayStation version the same as the achievements on the Steam version? Because
Oh.
I don't have an achievement for that in my game.
Oh, I haven't checked all the achievements to be honest. I never do
okay.
for my
All
PC
right.
gaming.
Got it. Because I know they have the in-game what are they called? It's not mastery, but they have like their in-game achievements that you can do, but then there's like the official like Steam achievement lists where you can compare what you've done to everybody.
Oh, right.
Or like the trophies on the PlayStation. There's separate lists for that. But anyways, yeah, I'm working my way through the actual achievements and having just the grandest time.
On your third playthrough, so are you playing that way more than you're playing multiplayer?
Yeah, basically. The things that I'm trying to do require multiple playthroughs in order to accomplish the goals that I'm trying to get. So yeah. Yep.
There you go. Once again,
one other.
Oh, go ahead.
Just one other thing. I think I mentioned like months ago that Frozen 2 was going to be more palatable after the 30th time.
Oh yes, the follow-up.
I'll give you the follow-up, and the follow-up is I hate Weezer right now, because that fucking Lost in the Woods song has been on repeat in my house for like the past week and a half, and it is driving me crazy.
Weezer song in Frozen 2?
So they're the band that covers one of the songs from Frozen 2. You know how they have like the pop songs during the credits that you can listen to, the better versions or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, Weezer does the like 80s throwback song, and 7th grade me would punch myself in the face right now for saying that I hate Weezer, but that's where I'm at right now. So
well, they haven't been good for a long time.
Yeah, but that's what Frozen 2 has done to me.
Have you heard Tyr sing it to himself during quiet time? Because it's adorable.
Yeah, I can hear him from my house.
I do remember in Frozen 1, Let It Go, which is now like, it sucks because of all that it is, but the first time you watch it, it's like, okay, this is a nice big ballad, and Idina Menzel is incredible, wonderful, and then in the credits, Demi Lovato sings it, and I'm not anti-Demi, but it just kind of pissed me off that Disney tried to market that instead of like the incredible Broadway singer. Anyway, I digress on my Frozen opinions. Did you know there was a Weezer music video included on every single Windows 95 software upgrade download disc that was distributed?
Wow.
It was part of a hidden feature.
I did not know about that.
I just learned it today on Stupid Trivia Game because I'm bored. I'll go second because I don't really have much. My recommendation is, finish your binges, because I had started like 15 over the last couple weeks. And so this week I was just like, I just picked whichever one I was closest to the end of, and I just finished it. So I finally got through a few series so I could look for some new ones and take some recommendations myself and start some new avenues. I also did watch from beginning to end Sunderland Till I Die, which is I'm missing sports. So it's a soccer documentary, and most people might not be interested, but it's great. It's well done.
Is that 30 for 30?
So no, but it's similarly done. It's kind of a mix of Hard Knocks and 30 for 30. So it's okay. Sunderland's one of the biggest clubs in the world, and essentially they lived in the Premier League, which is the top league in England. And then in back-to-back years, they went down to the second league, which is still respectable. It's called the Championship. And then they went down to the third league. And so they have the biggest stadium in this league by like 10 times. All their players were overpaid. So you just see them go through financial destruction and depression and try and fight their way back up. And so it does chronicle the season, but it's not, you don't really have to be a soccer fan to appreciate like how crazy it is to watch this big money team go through multiple owners and managers. And it is like a 30 for 30 in that you're just seeing sports from a whole different angle.
Cool. But that sounds really cool. I want to check that out.
Can I get a recommendation from you guys for something? I have no experience with the 30 for 30 series, and I have access to all of it. What is the best 30 for 30 for me to start watching?
So the one that I would recommend to start with, I cannot remember the name of right now, but it is about soccer.
Is it the two Escobars?
No, it's so there's. Why am I'm so bad at remembering these important things from history? But there's a soccer match.
Stadium collapse.
Yeah, I don't remember there being a collapse, but
okay, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. It's similar. It's a tragedy where people died because the stadium got overcrowded, and was it Tottenham? I think, I don't remember. I feel so bad about this, but if you can find that 30 for 30, I would recommend it.
Okay.
My favorite is also a soccer one. It's actually really about a mob boss Pablo Escobar, and it's called The Two Escobars, but it's kind of soccer focused and just shows how he corrupted everything. But it is, yeah, it's fascinating every time I watch it. But honestly, I want to say 75, like what 3 out of 4 are really incredible watches, and you can pick some shorter ones. Some are like 45 minutes. A lot of them are an hour and a half, 2 hours, but like I think that they're all fantastic.
Yeah, I think my favorite one is of Miracles in Men, which is the like Soviet side of the Miracle on Ice story. Basically, just talks about hockey in Soviet Russia, and what specifically Olympic sports meant to the Soviet Union, which is really fascinating. And then also I just really like I think it's called The Bad Boys of Detroit, which is just about the Detroit Pistons in the 80s with Isaiah Thomas and Dennis Rodman, and just how they fucking beat the shit out of people and got away with it. It's kind of fun.
By the way, that one Justin suggested is called Hillsborough. I think it's literally just called Hillsborough.
Yeah, Gwen I just saw Gwen put it in chat too.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that, Gwen. Fail. But they're all a lot of fun. Tyler McKinley, did you have any recommendations for us?
Yeah, I had a couple. I mean, this one everyone's seen already, but I did finish Tiger King, and I mean, I will say that of the documentaries I have watched and binged, I like Tiger King. It was the least from just a directorial and documentary standpoint, probably the least engaging for me. Its style felt a little bit more like a Discovery Channel show almost, but with way crazier content.
So much content too. I bet that sucker was so hard to edit down.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
it was so fun. You know,
and it's not bad. It's just not as like Wild Wild Country is like almost feels more like a movie than a documentary. It's so well crafted. And not that, like I said, not this one's bad. It's got some good things about it, but it's just all the information out there on the table, which is entertaining in itself. So it doesn't really need it. I've been missing the NBA and sports as much as I did participate in it. So I've been just YouTubing old like classic games and playoff series mostly, and there's a lot of them on YouTube. Just the entire game, and I usually end up just watching the first 5 minutes, kind of fast forwarding and skimming through the middle, and then the last 5 minutes, because that's all I have time for. But man, it's fun. It was fun to do. So if you're missing sports like I've been, it's a good thing to do. I'm probably gonna watch the can't remember what year that is. I got to remember, but the Lakers Suns first round where Nash broke his nose. I'll probably watch that one next. And then the other things to update you on my sword and sorcery genre dive. Unfortunately, the only things that have a budget to them are all under the Conan umbrella. You know, like Conan the Barbarian is all there is with a budget. Everything else is like super B, even C tier movie stuff.
Well, I mean, you look at something like Beastmaster, and they had to spend most of their budget to get Rip Torn. So it's like are trade-offs for sure.
I still haven't finished Beastmaster. I need to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But man, the beginning of that movie, he will die tonight. Anyway, so
I'm a child.
Oh yeah. Just watch the beginning of Beastmaster. It's amazing. Anyway, I got on sale on Steam Conan Exiles, the MMO, and I started playing that, and so here's the thing. I finished playing a good chunk today, and I decided, you know what, this game's not for me, but I love it, and I could see if I'm not really big into social gaming. I don't like talking to strangers because I fucking hate everyone, and it's just it's hard for me to do that. But that's so much of what the game hinges on. But it's very survival. It's like you literally start naked to the point where with your character customization, you can select your penis size. And
what did you pick?
Come true.
There's some wacky physics to it too. I'm like, they've never seen that blow in the wind before.
Are they all circumcised?
No, they are all uncircumcised. And they're barbarians. Damn it, they're not Hebrews. And
this is not some imagery that I thought I'd be having today.
But I mean, not to push any further, but it's like the physics on it. It's like they made it out of. It's like a flag. It's just like blowing in the wind.
All I can think about right now is like valve physics of like whenever any like just shit clipping into stuff and vibrating at extremely high speeds.
No, it's actually well animated. It's just animated the wrong consistency. And
I sense a business idea.
Anyway,
You can be a video game penile design advisor.
Anyway, you literally start naked on a cross. You're crucified, and Conan the Barbarian comes and saves you. And basically, but he quote unquote saves you. He just pulls you off and is like, all right, now get the fuck out of here. And so you're naked and you just have to start grabbing stuff before you starve or dehydrate to death. Like, and it doesn't tell you anything. There are no tutorials at all. And I had no idea what I was doing. So I'm just this naked man running around, just grabbing. I didn't know to grab anything at first. I didn't know you could interact with everything. So I was running for a while. I'm like, man, my stomach meter. I'm going to starve to death. I am super thirsty. I can't find any freaking water because I'm in a desert. And then finally I found, I can't remember how, I finally the first time I died, I just died of starvation. Then I finally was able to kill an animal and I took the meat and I didn't know I figured you had to cook it, but I had no idea how. And I was about to die. So I just ate the raw meat. And it's like, oh, you got food poisoning. Meh, meh. And so then I died of food poisoning. And so yeah, the game, it's just crazy. Then I slowly learned all the stuff you can do. It's a lot of crafting, a lot of Minecraft type, just beating the shit out of every material you can find, collecting it, building stuff. And I could see the atmosphere is really cool. The presentation is really awesome. The amount of crafting stuff you can do is sweet. And I can imagine with a whole community of people just building ridiculous stuff and kind of forming your own clans and everything. That could be really awesome. I just hate people, so I can't do that. But so if you're into that sort of thing, it's on sale right now. It's $19. Get it. It's cool. It's just not my thing.
I mean, you had me at it's basically Minecraft, but I get to choose my penis size. That's all I've ever wanted.
On the meter, it's known as your endowment.
God, which has even weirder connotations in my mind now.
Okay, we're gonna move. Gwen, you can take off right from there. What do you want to suggest this week?
Unfortunately, I suck at watching TV. So once my puzzle gets here, Barnes and Noble, send me my fucking puzzle.
What is your puzzle of that you're getting?
Some astrology bullcrap that I just want something to do with my hands, so I'm not looking at Reddit all day and going through the anxious scroll. But
Gotcha.
Once that gets here, I might start Mad Men again. But in the meantime, I've just been re-listening to The Expanse and hanging pictures in my house that should have been hung up, I don't know, 18 months ago. So that's all I got.
Wait,
Sorry.
Did you read the final book of The Expanse already? Or is that even out yet?
That's not out yet.
Oh, I thought it was out already. Okay.
I feel like the puzzle thing is pretty huge, at least in my family and friends. My roommate did one today. I didn't even know he understood shapes. And I just everywhere people are killing time with the puzzle. I like puzzles, but they're hard and I have not ordered one, and I just think it would take a long time now. I'm scared it would come the day that we were all free, and then I'd be like, well, this isn't going to happen until the next plague.
Once this is over, it's not going to be puzzle time anymore.
We do one over Christmas with my siblings, and then I've done one by myself, and I don't know how it happened, but I finished 1,000-piece, and I was really proud. It was of the London cityscape, and it's still sitting on my former roommate's coffee table, completed. So thanks, Ty, for keeping that around.
It looked great.
Yeah, I'm very proud. Tyler, what do you got for us?
Oh, yeah, I have a couple things. So this is WrestleMania weekend, in the weirdest WrestleMania ever. They have split it over 2 days, so I've only seen about half of it. And I can only recommend probably a quarter of that. But I will say, WWE is they've got a free month. You should go watch the WrestleMania match from yesterday between The Undertaker and AJ Styles, because it's not filmed in an arena. It's filmed on out on location somewhere where they decorated it with a bunch of gravestones, and basically shot a movie of people beating each other up using wrestling moves. and it's goofy, and there are parts of it that are just stupid, but it's really fun. It's like a really good goofy thing that WWE did, which I think they need to do more of. But yeah, that's really fun. There's a couple other good matches, but it's bizarre to see like a lot of wrestling in empty arenas. You realize very quickly how much an audience does for wrestling, even when you're watching it on TV. Anyways, I'll probably watch some other matches. I will just say, do not watch Braun Strowman fight Goldberg. It is a fucking just bullshit. Don't watch anything that Goldberg does. He sucks ass. That's my only thing. I hate Bill Gold. But then
Goldberg was like one of my favorite wrestlers when I was 11.
Yeah, I'm sure you no offense, because I'm the same way. I'm sure you liked a lot of bad shit when you were 11. I did. I will say, okay, here's what you should watch of the Braun Strowman Goldberg match. Just watch the replay where they recap all the great things that happened in that match and realize that what it is Goldberg tackling a guy 3 times. You're seeing this back to back, just 3 straight spears. And then Braun Strowman power slamming that same man 4 times in a row, and then the match is over. It is a fucking travesty. So
sounds kind of cool to me, actually.
Well, okay, then go watch it. It's just that's all that happens. It's not fun wrestling to me to watch. Anyways. The other thing that I did this week is the Broadway Theater in Salt Lake is doing like a theater at home thing, which I think a lot of independent theaters are doing now. There's been some organizations that have been raising money to kind of help a lot of like independent movie theaters specifically get set up so they could stream some movies online and stuff, income while no one can go to them. And so I rented. It basically works like any other on-demand streaming thing. You basically rent a thing, and you can watch it over the next 48 hours at any point. But I've rented 2 of them. I've only watched one of them, but I watched a documentary that is called. Let me make sure I get this right. Once We're Brothers, which is a documentary about the band, who is a really awesome rock band from the 70s. Probably kind of rose to fame as the band that backed Bob Dylan on the Basement Tapes. And that's kind of what they were known for, is basically they were the band for all these other singers. And so when they finally did become kind of their own thing and were writing their own music, they just called themselves the band. A really great documentary that Martin Scorsese did called The Last Waltz, which is like a really great concert documentary. And this is another really great documentary about the band that is just kind of about a specific moment in their career where they're the backup band for Robbie Robertson. And it's a pretty tumultuous time in their careers. But it's just a really interesting and fascinating look at their lives and kind of that creative period. But they're great. And then also I have not watched, but I will talk about next week. There's a new movie, a horror comedy starring Will Forte called Extraordinary, that has reviewed extremely well, but is available through the Broadway theaters like streaming thing right now. But yeah, it's just $10 to stream those. It's something that like I would definitely be going to these movies if I could. And if you find yourself in the situation where that's something you probably would have done, why not throw $10 at like an independent theater or local theater that could use that. So but yeah, those are my recommendations.
Sweet. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. It is a lot of fun to do this every week as we are going through some abnormal stuff right now. But so check out There Will Be Blood. We're stoked to watch that one next week. And I'm Mitchell Marshall, and my co-hosts from youngest to oldest are
Tyler Harris,
Tyler McKinley,
Gwen Hammer.
Justin Hammer.
We'll fact check that later.
Who
Thanks,
knows?
guys. We'll see you next week.